We're And it's another Monday night here in Red Bank at the Shared Universe Studios. I'm Rob Acampora. Welcome aboard for the A Game. Happy to have this man back. It's been about 2 years. I was thinking it was only a year, but it's been over 2 years since Don Dazzo with the Whirling Dervishes has been with me, an old friend indeed. And unfortunately, we couldn't get Billy Siegel, the man of 37 different bands, but he's actually having like a vacation or something, a life.
Yeah, he's in Miami.
Good. Yeah. Good for him. Good for him.
About 5 hours north in St. Augustine, Florida, but he's down in Miami. Yeah.
Well, what St. Augustine? You got to be enjoying that at this point.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's since COVID, I've been down here basically for the winters.
Right.
And it's been wonderful. But I'm heading back to my beloved New Jersey on the 18th. Yeah, next Thursday. I'll be up for the whole spring, summer, early fall. So
cool. Well, I'll have
really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'll have to make some plans with you to at least see you at some point in person, as opposed to this. That's for sure. Part of the reason I get to talk to Don again is because this recently got re-released. Give me photo number 4. This was a little side project that the guys from the Whirling Dervishes put out there right around the mid-90s, Everlounge's Vodka Context, which was just this fun little album that was taking lounge music and putting it out in an alternative vein. And as usual, Don and the guys were ahead of the curve, which I'll explain why in a second. But they all, us and 106.3 was a great marriage between all the bands, the Dervishes and Everlounge. But I don't think I ever asked you in any interview I ever done, what made you want to do Everlounge?
Okay. So first of all, there's always been a cheeseball lounge singer in me,
Anybody who knows you, and we have photos to prove it, knows that. That's true.
So what happened was it was, the Dervishes, we did the best we could, and it wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to go any further, rather. And that's why the timing of this is great, because the last time we spoke was we finally released that unreleased album.
Right, From Obscure to Oblivion, sure.
Yeah, by the Dervishes, which was really the final thing that we did. And this was around 93, 94, and I was wondering what to do. And it was one of those days I was living in Rahway, and I was out for a walk. I'd smoked some weed, and as I was wont to do back in those days. And I stumbled. I heard music coming out of this what I thought was like an apartment building, but it turned out it was like a second floor church in downtown Rahway.
Wow!
And it was a black ministry. And there was a drummer and an organ player and a choir. Okay. And they were making the most beautiful sounds. And I just kind of stumbled up there and looked around. And then I stayed for maybe a couple of songs. And they didn't even look at me funny or anything like that. I think they were just rehearsing, because it wasn't like it was a full-blown service. Mm-hmm. And that gave me the idea. I thought of, wow, if I could have keys and drums and vocals, I could put together something smaller than the Dervishes.
Right.
And I immediately thought of Billy Siegel. And then long story short, when we put it together, we expanded the instrumentation, but that was the seed of it.
But going into the world of lounge music, when you guys were talking about this, was that like sort of the theme you were going for all along, or was it something you kind of stumbled on then as you were putting this together, as you just said, listening to that music? Because when you're recording, and you know this from recording, sometimes you have one idea, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, I think we stumbled upon something here. Wait a second.
Yeah, no, very good question, because I had really no idea of what to do with it other than a bunch of songs that I loved, covers mainly, maybe write some material for it, but not really. It was just, the idea was to get out there and play live. I figured I want to be able to play different venues. It's not happening for the Dervishes, so I have to change up the kind of direction. Maybe I could go in a more loungy routine. The idea was, the other piece of the idea was, picture a Ramada Inn circus 1974. And what the people would be wearing playing in a band.
Right.
That was the idea of the look of it. And then it was the addition when Bob joined us and said, we should write some stuff for this. And he was working for a label. He's working for Continuum Records at the time.
I remember, yeah, Bob
And,
Andre, guitar player. Yeah, it was
yeah,
really wrapped up in what Continuum was doing in the 90s. Very good point.
right. So he saw that this was going to be a trend,
right?
and so then we immediately started writing material for that. And it was the only thing that we ever did in music that actually had good timing, because we released we came out on a Continuum comp called Live and Lounge with a
Yes.
whole bunch of different lounge bands on it. And then we released our album shortly after that, both in 1995.
Right.
So yeah, this thing is almost 30 years old. Do I have that math right?
Yeah, you'll be 30 next year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So yeah.
So what defines lounge music to you? Because I think, as I see it, when you think about it, the first thing that comes to my mind is always Dean Martin. That's what really comes to my head immediately. But I think lounge can be taken in so many different ways. What's your definition? Yeah.
So it especially then, it was either kind of a jazzy approach to American music, standards, or not show tunes, but standards, or a more blues-based American approach to that same kind of material. And that's the way we went, more blues and pop. But I mean, we like the idea when we first started playing, we were doing everything from Sinatra and Dean Martin to Bowie and Iggy, all Brian Eno covers. It was, it was a real mix, but all done in this kind of tongue-in-cheek, loungy style. We had the instrumentation was Eddie Fleischman playing a stand-up bass. Nelson Pop was playing very classy drummer, very smooth. He kind of a Cuban American background that Nelson had. It was super cool. And Mark Norwine, who played guitar, was a jazz guy who played rock. And so that really, I think, helped. So it was a really different sound from what we like Billy, Bob, and I were used to growing up.
Sure.
Kind of a straight ahead rock or alternative rock approach.
But but I'll throw this in as far as a caveat is in when you talk about lounge and alternative, how in that time period it was already starting to blend. But even before that, you take somebody like, let's say, David Johansen when he became Buster Poindexter. That would probably be a great example of what you would say a lounge act who leans alternative.
He led the whole thing. He was on that Live and Lounge record too.
Yes, I remember.
So absolutely, Johansen's my favorite singer, and he was that years before that.
Right.
But yeah, people started. You know what happened was a year later, the movie Swingers came out.
Yes.
And that's when everybody was like, "Oh, your money, baby." They were drinking these fancy cocktails and wearing smoking jackets, and it was kind of a reaction against punk grunge to kind of class things up a bit, but still with that same edge of trying to be cool.
Right.
And so consequently, we were playing really nice rooms in New York City that we never got booked in as the Dervishes.
Right.
I had much better work live with Everlounge than I really ever did with the Dervishes, as far as venues that paid and that want us in New York, Right.
No, I get
always, marginalized to a Tuesday or Wednesday night somewhere. Never got those prime gigs, but we were playing Windows on the World, Fez Under Time Cafe, Don Hills. There was some sweet gigs in the beginning of Everlounge.
You bring up a great point now that I'm thinking about Swingers, because there was that poignant scene toward the end when Big Bad Voodoo Daddy comes out and they're doing their song, You and Me and the Bottle Makes Three. And that kind of launched their careers. Yes. And that sort of, as you say, Swingers was sort of this tipping point for how alternative went a little swing, and you got then Squirrel Nut Zippers coming out after that. And then there's that fine line between lounge and swing with Cherry Poppin' Daddies. But the trend really started right about there. And you, like you said, as I was saying before too, you were just ahead of the cuff, and that's sort of been the band, your band, both band stories, just ahead of the curve.
Yeah. It immediately went to swing, and that just was more viable, just bigger. And I remember playing like Lenny Lounge was having a series, Lenny Lalinko.
Lenny Lalinko here on the Jersey Shore,
Yeah,
absolutely.
where was the place? At not the Playpen, what was the place? Oh gosh.
Brighton Bar?
No. Chicken or fish. It was a place that was there forever.
Club Benet.
Club Benet, right.
I had to think about that.
And
Chicken or fish and gave it away.
yeah, right. And so he was doing it. He became a swing night, and we tried to do that. We tried to we learned a bunch of we were doing some Louis Prima, and but beyond jump, jive, and wail, and a couple of things, we weren't going to go just that. We were too eclectic for that. The whole idea of Everlounge was like kind of all over the place with this cheesy theme,
right?
So we had some nice venues in New Jersey that we worked at as well. Like the Downtown Cafe in Red Bank.
Yes.
That was a little bit later. Was a wonderful venue for that, and the Palmyra Tea Room in Bound Brook was.
I remember that. It was great
place. Yeah. So yeah.
The tipping point in '95 when you were getting it together, I remember being on HTG, and we get this group called Mike Flowers Pops, who do this cover, a lounge cover of Wonderwall, which went,
right.
which went becoming number 2 in the UK, and it became sort of this alternative one-hit wonder, for lack of a better term. But it was like, other than you guys, that was the first time the station kind of gravitated and went, "Oh, we're going lounge, okay."
Yeah.
And it was that what you talk about, a lot of these covers. Because when you go from there and you go into a little bit more modern, I'll take somebody like Postmodern Jukebox, who sort of take
I don't even know them. Okay.
Yeah, you got to look them up. They are been doing this for a while now, where they're taking a lot of these songs that lounging them up and covers out of them. So defending your point about taking the songs that and kind of like, all right, we're going to give it a little bit of a different feel and make it fun in that vibe.
Yeah, and that appeals to a wide audience, right?
Right.
I mean, and Everlounge never had that kind of wide audience appeal. Richard Cheese is the guy that's
to me, he's got to be the name in this.
Yeah. So it was an interesting time, and the material that's on Vodka Context, I really enjoyed making that record. It was a happy time. There was, with the Dervishes, there was a lot of struggles interpersonally.
Mm-hmm.
There was like none of that with Everlounge. We just didn't give a crap, and the songs came rather naturally. And I still think they hold up because, again, it's that kind of, we went for this kind of timeless Americana feel for these songs. I was really happy with the result. And it wasn't like it was heavy production on that record at all. It was done all very quickly. There's some live stuff on there. Mm-hmm. It all flows pretty well.
I knew it was going to be fun when I saw some of the song titles. Yeah. Just without even listening, when you see something called Hollywood Loaf, you're going, "Oh, this is going to be good." And that
that Hollywood Loaf, I got. John Waters had said that was like kind of an expression for, I don't know if I could say this on, half a hard on. I don't know.
It's a podcast. See, I'm all right. I don't worry about the radio thing on this.
Okay, we can curse. That's great. And the title Vodka Context comes from out of the novel by Martin Amis. Martin Amis is a fantastic British writer who passed away last year. Right. And his book Money, which is just hilarious. Oh. And that's where I got he was talking about mixing drinks and this very liquid fellow. So I always like that. And he's Martin Amis is always in the back of my mind, and he's also, he has the Zone of Interest, that really great film about Nazis that came out just this year. Brooding, really tough film to watch, but brilliant. And it was up for Oscars. I don't know which particular ones, but it was definitely up for some awards. So all based on his novel. So yeah,
Wow.
love that guy.
Yeah, definitely something I should check out for sure.
Yeah.
When it comes to Everlounge, my connection with them, obviously through my work in the 90s at FM 1063, was this little thing that we had to put together. And not everybody realizes that Surf Stock as an event became this thing on, in Ortley Beach. But we were literally thrown to the wolves by an advertiser saying, well, you got to do a concert. So
Yeah.
we're literally scrambling. And we called Don, you the one that kind of mentioned to us, like, hey, listen, we got this little thing called Everlounge. It's like, and we're like going, well, we're going to need some music in between the acts. And it also gave you the chance, though, if I can get give me number 3 just for starters. And it gave you, it just gave
I
everybody,
knew it was going to be that picture.
you had to feel, I got 3 of them, but I obviously had to pull out the pants. Come on, the pants alone, please.
That outfit, those pants were part of a leisure suit that I had. That was, I think the on the label said something like club wear and church wear. Like you could wear this on Saturday night and Sunday morning, And the shirt that's actually peacock. It's polyester peacock.
I think that was a one-trick wonder, and it died right after that.
I don't know where I found that. I was a big thrift store shopper.
But you know what? I think that was what made Everlounge part of the charm. Is like we all were looking forward to go, what is Don going to wear now? My God.
Yeah, and Surf Stock was a blast.
Yeah,
I mean, we did it, I think at least I think we did twice, right?
I think you did twice. It was 2 or 3 times. I think. Hold on, is it number 1? I think it is photo number 1 where we had the Bloomingdale suit. If you can pull that up for me, maybe number 1. That was there it is.
That was Bloomingdale's cruise wear from the 70s, and those pants were originally bells, big wide bells. I should have kept them, but for some reason something compelled me to peg them. So I pegged those pants.
So you literally went to Bloomingdale's and found them at Bloomingdale's, or did you find them at a thrift shop?
No. I found them at a thrift store, and it was Bloomingdale's cruise wear, which that was in the label.
Okay, so it was right on the label. Wow.
Yeah, and it was seersucker, Right. So wonderful for the summer. It really breathed well,
It didn't age well, but it breathed great.
Yeah, it's hard to look at. I remember when I first got that suit, I wore it on Easter Sunday to my parents' house to really get back at them for making me wear those horrible outfits on Easter Sunday when I was a kid.
Yes, like in shorts, catalog, I'm sure,
shorts with Oxford shoes and a shirt and tie, just awful.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we all experienced that, unfortunately.
The long hair was just such a.
No, wait a minute. That look worked for you in the 90s, though. I don't know if it would work for you today, but in the 90s, one more photo. Give me photo number 2, Ming, just so we can reminisce down memory lane. The Hawaiian shirt, though, that's a nice touch. And you actually had a song, a Luau song on the Everlounge album, so it kind of worked out, too. So.
Yeah. I wonder who the chick was in the back there with the cigarette. Looking so cool.
I know. It's like,
I don't know who that is. I've looked at that picture before, and nobody ever knew. But,
actually, since I'm talking Hawaiian, because I don't associate Hawaiian music as lounge music. So when you do something like Luau song, in your mind, how does that be? Well, it sounds loungy. I will say that. But I don't think of Hawaiian music as loungy.
That was, oh gosh, now I'm just going to kill me. Oh, Mr. Ken. On WFMU, a great DJ named Mr. Ken, who's passed a long time ago, what a sweet guy, had a show called The Big Luau. Okay. And I heard that, and Everlounge was released, and I sent him the record, and he's like, oh, you got to come on. And he's actually the guy saying on the beginning of the album, okay, let's give it up for, what time is it now? Or there's something on the album. I forget exactly where it is.
Oh, the introduction.
What's that?
The introduction, if I'm not
mistaken. It's the intro, right?
Yeah, the intro.
And that's Mr. Ken.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. After all these years, that's wild.
So that was and he had a recorded version of that song. Don't ask me who did that, but that's a cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
The things I learn after all these years too. Because I mean, when I think of Hawaiian music, the only one that comes to mind is Mele Kalikimaka, and I'm like going, and
Yeah.
that sounds kind of loungy, but I still don't. And that's where it becomes very interesting to see what defines as lounge, because it can
Yeah.
take so many different twists and turns. It's great.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure there'll be another twist on that. You know, I'm sure there's Japanese bands that have done that too, you know.
I think there was a '90s band called Pizzicato Five that
Yes,
was
that's
doing.
who I was thinking of. Thank you. They
There
were
you go. Great
great.
minds. You're right. Yes.
And that was unbelievably slick production,
It really
wonderful singers, and what a great band that was. Yeah.
No, and it's interesting because today you really don't have much of it. Like I said, postmodern jukebox is about as close as you're going to come to, and they're straight covers. But in the
Yeah.
'90s, there were, like I said, in the '90s there was this little 3-year run, and I would say a solid 3-year run where everybody was kind of gravitating to it. They were enjoying it, and then it faded out. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
probably '98,
Yeah.
'99. That was it.
By the time 2000 hit, I remember having a band meeting. It was like, well, I guess we can't keep doing this if we want to keep working. So we had to do like '80s stuff.
Oh,
And
but
then we
just the way you're talking about it, sounds like it was just you would look back on it and go, "That was just fun." It was just straight up
it was
pure
such fun. Yeah. And I was, of course, a good part of that. I was still drinking then too. So that was, that really lent itself to it,
I am
Yeah.
the first to admit, as somebody who has hung out with these guys back in the '90s, they were oh, what a night a few times. Oh my
Oh
god!
my God. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
thank you, Clubhouse and Plainfield, for poisoning us for at least a year.
Yeah.
There was
And the downtown cafe, I remember that being a really crazy scene.
yes,
A lot of shenanigans and a lot of fun. I always managed to not drive. I would get a ride home, with Billy Siegel or Mark Norwine, have a few martinis after the show. Oy.
no, that's the good thing. You can look at it now in 2024, go, hey, you know what? I'm still here. I can smile at this. I can reminisce
Yes.
about it and going, I don't think I can ever do it again, but
Yeah.
hey, man, give me
It's still in the head there,
I like that.
Yeah,
Photo
yeah.
4 one more time. They
Yeah.
can find the music now. So this is out there for people wherever they download their music. They can find the Everlounge stuff, correct?
Yes. So wherever you stream your music, you should be able to find Everlounge Vodka Context.
Mhm.
And you should be able to find the Whirling Dervishes Lost Record, From Obscurity to Oblivion.
Mhm.
And soon, Strange and Wonderful is finally going to be re-released as, for all channels, plus a whole bunch of bonus tracks. In fact, I was just talking to Jerry Hare today about that. So we're hoping for possibly even a midsummer release of that. I think it's going to happen. And it's very little fanfare, and I certainly appreciate you helping me spread the word on this. These are old records,
Mhm.
but we want everybody to be able to have access to them,
Exactly.
because nobody, your CDs, CDs and vinyl, and we want nowadays the way people listen to music. Remember that song? Yeah, you look it up on your phone. If you can't find it, it's gone.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ming, put up the address one more time for everybody, at least through Amazon, as they want to find the music. Here is the address on Amazon. Take a look at it real quick. It's one of the platforms that you can find the music right now. Thanks, Ming. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned,
Yeah.
since you mentioned the Dervishes,
Yeah.
the WHDG film that came out via USA Today, Brian Johnston, who did an
Yeah.
incredible job on the documentary. Don,
That was nice.
yeah, Don was nice enough to talk about that. But it also reflects a little bit about the career of the Whirling Dervishes. And if you give me number one, this is kind of Matt cueing Don in as we're talking a little bit about their past. Take a look.
We would get behind artists that didn't even have, record deals and play them in regular rotation. So the perception was that they were big, important artists, but they were to us. And we were trying to help people get a leg up.
WHDG, made us into if not local, a regional act.
Definitely regional. Without a doubt, regional success that was knocking on the door is the best way. Like we said on the last podcast, without a doubt.
it was wonderful what you guys did for us, and we were eternally grateful, for
No,
putting us on the map.
and I'm glad Brian Johnston reached out to you because I mean, out of
Yeah,
anybody that could have gone on the documentary from the bands that we were developing back then, you guys had to be on there in one way, shape, or form. So I'm glad had a few quotes in there, Don. It was greatly appreciated.
yeah, that was my pleasure.
Yeah,
Anything about that era,
yeah. I mean, it seems like now. I mean, here we are, God, 30 years, 30 years
Yeah,
later from the peak of it, and it's like you have all these memories, and sometimes it rushes like a blur, and then the next minute I'm going. I can remember being in the clubhouse in Plainfield the night the Dervishes video comes out on MTV, and there we all are, literally
yes,
waiting for the last video to come on 120 minutes, and there they are. They finally got on. And you're like, you couldn't have made it the first video. No, we had to stay till 2 a.m.
yes. I remember that. That was in Garwood, but yeah, Jerry and Bob were living in that house, and oh man, yeah. But yeah, obviously a lot of the people are gone,
Yeah.
but I can drive down to Asbury Park and reminisce, and it all comes back. I had a wonderful Saturday night in Asbury Park midsummer when Dramarama was playing at Wonder Bar this past summer. I was DJing a wedding for some good friends of mine around the corner, and I wrapped up and was able to get in there, and it was just one of those perfect, not too hot but lovely summer nights. Music, they were cranking. I was sitting outside talking to people, listening to the band. It was just, that brought it all back.
Nice.
That was nice.
And there's one other venue that we got to mention that's no longer with us. I think that is clip number 3, Ming. If we can fire that up again from the documentary that came out last year. And if you haven't seen it, it's up on YouTube. Thanks to Brian Johnston and USA Today. It is about the history of FM 106.3. Take a look at this.
If you never went to the Green Parrot, it's about the size of this room, and so it's like it was very loud and a lot of fun.
The place was mobbed. It was a crazy scene, and it was very energizing. And that's where we found our audience. Yeah.
Who had that clip from the Green Parrot? Do you even know?
If anybody, it's Jerry Hare, bass player Jerry Hare. And I don't know where he's got it somewhere. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I always when I think of the Parrot, it was one of the greatest nights that we had artistically, I thought, in my mind anyway.
Yeah,
was when we released Thin Mints. We screened it there. That would have been January of 1990. We screened it there, and then we played, and then it was just partying all night long after that. It was, it was just it was perfect the way the whole thing rolled out.
Right.
And we could. The Green Parrot was the perfect venue for that.
Looking back on it, probably was the only venue you could have really done that.
We did one other screening in New York at the Pyramid Club, but that was it. Yeah.
Look at it now in 2024 as opposed to when you were young and thinking you're being artistic. Is there any party that goes, there's no way we could possibly repeat what we did in 1990 with Thin Mints?
Yeah, well, absolutely. In fact, when I was talking to Jerry, the idea to release From Obscurity to Oblivion came from me asking him about why can't we have Thin Mints being streamable.
Well, yeah, considering that you probably could get it on something like Amazon Prime.
Right. Sure. And Jerry said, this is what Jerry said. Jerry said, well, we could do that, but I'd have to take my name off it. Because Jerry works at HBO, and it's so, it's so over the top. And so I just had to laugh at that. And that's what led us to all right, well, let's release the music,
Jerry, we understand. Here we go. On one side, we have a award-winning documentary worker for HBO. And then on the other side, we have Thin Mints. Yeah, I think we understand why, Jerry. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Thin Mints is just basically a trashy homage to John Waters, really.
Really, it really was, exactly. Yeah. But again, when you're young and you're doing this, you're not really thinking where's the filter? No, there was no filter.
There was no filter, yeah. And what a blast that was that summer making that in Asbury Park.
Yeah.
In Long Branch. We had this troop of weirdos. You know, it was just, you know, the cops came to the Bradley Motor Inn in Asbury Park thinking we were making a porno, you know. And
Well, you know what? You think about that. If anybody remembers back in the day, Asbury at that point, it's an easy assumption to make at that
oh
point.
yeah, yeah.
Because that was, you know, we both know that Asbury in the 90s, if it weren't for the clubs, you were taking your life in your own hands in certain places. So, I mean,
Oh my God,
yeah,
yeah.
we had this great, really flourishing music scene and battlegrounds all around us. It was crazy.
Well, funny story about that. I don't know if you knew that Frank Fergasso, who was in Thin Mints, a local scenester, he passed away right before COVID.
Okay.
And he lived in Asbury, and I used to hang at his place all the time. We partied quite a bit. And one night we were out there with a couple of his buddies. I think I had gotten a room with my wife at the time at the James A. Bradley or something like that, you know, hanging by the pool, drinking. And I had the brilliant idea to let's take some beer and go out to the jetty. And so we went out to the jetty and nearly killed ourselves slipping on the jetty and, you know, shouting poetry at the stars and whatnot. And
right.
As we were coming off the beach, a whole bunch of kids saw us, and I had the long hair, and they're like, "Hey, peace, man." And they started throwing M80s at us.
Oh, jeez.
And it turned into like a melee.
Oh, my God.
And Frank was up on the boardwalk fighting. So one of the guys got really hurt. I, the coward that I am, ran under the what is it, Convention Hall. I ran under Convention Hall and out the other side to safety. It wasn't one of my finest moments, but I survived, you know.
Yeah, that's the important thing. It's like, oh, I got out of there alive. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I can't believe I just admitted that publicly. Yeah.
I bring out the worst in you and Ardre and Siegel and Jerry. You know that. You've known it for years, for God's
Yes,
sake.
you do. In fact, Jerry shared a clip of I don't think you saw that. I'll have to text that to you.
What's that?
He shared a clip of you talking to us backstage at the Count Basie for one of those jingle balls.
Oh God, our snowball, yes, because you played the first three, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it started out like a typical kind of backstage banter, but it degenerated. You know?
Oh, I wish we had, because you know I play that right now if I could. So yeah, you're gonna have to send that to me. Oh, those were some fun times, without a doubt. My good friend Don Dazzo here on the A Game. Okay, you know the drill. Random shots time. Questions that can come from anywhere. He's a veteran of this, so he knows what's happening. I'm going to start with photo number 6, Ming, because since we've been on this HTG kick, this is 1129 Hope Road. This is the house that Don and the guys. Do you remember the first time you visited this place? Can you picture that in your head and everybody's reaction when you first got there?
All I can really remember was like thinking, this is like this crappy little house. And I think Chopper interviewed us. That's
God
really
bless him.
What?
He said, God bless him. God bless him.
I think that's really all I remember of that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes people have such vivid memories, and sometimes it's just like you said, it's sort of that.
Yeah, no, I was like, what? Are we sure we're in the right place? And then, okay, here we are. And then, you know, we were there many times after that. But
absolutely.
Yeah, that's all kind of a blur. Yeah.
If I were to look back on the history of the station and kind of go, out of all the bands, who probably holds the record for most appearances on the station for interviews in general, you guys have got to be in the top 3 without it. Yeah, because I'm like, all right, you were on with Chopper.
You welcomed us with open arms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've had at least 5 different DJs interview guys, maybe even, because I'm thinking Chopper, Loretta, Rich, myself, Matt, 5 right out of the gate, and it's probably Raspy would probably be 6. That's that.
I don't know if Jeff we ever did with Jeff, but
I'm just thinking out loud. I'm like, definitely 5, maybe 6. I mean, that's why we've always said when it comes to the history of the radio station and why the Dervishes have been so important to the fabric of the radio station, because they grew along with us. That's the great thing about it, without a doubt.
Yeah.
This is a true or false. I know the answer to this because I think you mentioned it last time on the podcast, but you guys never really learned to read music. Is that really true?
Billy Siegel reads music.
Oh, well, Billy's Billy's like I hate to say it this way, musician extraordinaire. The fact that he can do so many
Absolutely.
different bands, yeah,
Yeah. And he was, that's what really, we were a sum of our parts, because uh, in the Dervishes, Bob and I wrote most of the material, but Billy really shaped it as far as arranging and, what everybody came up with their wonderful parts. And then, it had to all gel together. And if somebody was playing something wrong, it was Billy that would know so yeah, that was fabulous having him there to kind of say, wait a minute, guys, this just isn't musical. you know?
So in a weird way, it doesn't even surprise you that he's somebody that literally, when he winds up being a part of Dramarama, it happens on a last second notice. He's got to memorize how many songs in about 2 days, and he doesn't miss a beat.
No, he's brilliant that way.
Yeah.
And he was to work with him as a singer, especially with a singer that's got about 5 notes. I've got a style, but I've got about 5 notes.
Okay.
And so, and especially when you're picking covers, it's all about finding the right key.
Mm-hmm.
And he was amazing with me and very patient.
Yeah.
I would say, I want to do this. I remember, I want to do what was it? AC/DC's Night Prowler. And he was the one that walked me through it on the piano, and I was basically singing it a whole octave lower, but in the same key, so yeah, he was brilliant that way, and I could run anything by him that way,
Right. Since you bring up covers, and this is one of the questions I had ready for you, favorite song to cover if you were Everlounge, if you were going to cover a song, what was one of your favorites or two that you like to cover?
We loved doing Motorhead's Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades.
Yeah, and we did that. This kind of a straight up kind of a country boogie, and then we would that eventually evolved. We would morph into Hava Nagila, the Jewish classic, and then back to Ace of Spades. Yeah, and that was hilarious. I really liked doing Bowie and Iggy stuff. Like on Vaga Context is a little known Iggy song. I think it was just released as a demo called When Dreaming Fails.
Yeah,
that's on there. Yeah. Wow. And I also love doing the standards, Sinatra and Dean, and there was one, I forget who made it popular, but Old Devil Moon, which was a jazz standard that Mark Norwine brought out for us. And I always love that part of the live set when we're doing that kind of stuff,
It sounds like it lends a lot more creativity than a lot of people would understand, just to kind of go, look, we're doing covers, but we're doing them this way. So
yeah,
you may be surprised how we're going to cover them, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And it also was I thought, and the goal was to really create this kind of a really relaxed, cool vibe for an audience to dance and sing along to and drink to. That was the idea. Wherever we went, we wanted to create that kind of vibe. Instead of you go into your average rock club and it's bang, 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 oh, get me out of here. We tried to keep the volume, manageable. I think in most cases we succeeded with that.
Yeah, I remember my share of shows where it's like you could sit down, you're going to have a good mixed drink, and you're going to get into the vibe, because you were creating a vibe without a doubt. That was the whole idea. Yeah, and you did it, and it right down to the way you would come up on stage, no matter what you had on stage.
Which what I always liked with Everlounge too was like an instrumental opening, and then I would come out.
There you go. Exactly. Random shots with Don Dazzo. I'm going to tap into your DJ experience for a second, because I remember last time we came together, we were talking about music, and you mentioned Uptown Funk, and you called that probably one of the best dance songs that's come out in the last 20 years, probably.
Yeah.
As a DJ, has anything come out in the last couple of years that you go, yeah, that's a song that really makes sense for when I'm out doing a corporate event or a party or whatever the case may be?
She's Not well. You know what? What's the one? Portland the Man. No. What's
Portugal the
the
Man?
Portugal the Man? That song, that '60s song. I forget what it's called. That to me just is a great sounding track.
Really?
Um, Trying to think what else was really popular.
I'm just trying to think. Like,
You know, some of Taylor Swift's stuff is really,
interesting. Okay,
yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, because I don't know. Because you do more of these events than I do now, so
yeah.
it's interesting to get that take.
Bruno Mars with who's that dirty rapper female? It's oh, I forget her name.
Yeah, that's not my wheelhouse, unfortunately. But I do love Bruno Mars.
He's he did Uptown Funk, obviously, but he's made some other great records. And then as far as the rock stuff, I mean, I've heard some great kind of disco-y stuff coming out of Arcade Fire that I really like.
Yeah.
You know,
I was about to say Black Keys. I mean, have you heard the new stuff that's come out from them? I figured
no,
that's
I haven't. Is that
yeah, beautiful
Have
people.
they gone disco?
Let's put it this way: the name of the new album is Ohio Players.
Oh, right on.
Yeah,
I got to take a look at that.
yeah. Look at Beautiful People. It's definitely one of those songs that, even though it's played on rock radio, it's got a groove and it's got some funk to it, and it's one of those. You're not going to sit down. It's that kind of song. It really does grab you.
Cool. I will listen to that. Yeah.
Nice to give the DJ a tip. The only other artist I was thinking of, because we talk about Bruno Mars and Uptown Funk out of the last couple of years, is somebody like Dua Lipa, something that does kind of excite when you're
I haven't
DJing.
heard anything out of her that's blown me away. No.
Okay.
I like Katy Perry. You know, in fact, I was just telling my wife yesterday. I think I forget where we were, but that one of her songs came on. Teenage something, whatever.
Oh yeah, a Teenage Dream.
Yeah, and all of the popular records, the ones that I hear, I think they're really, really well made. And she's a great singer.
Yeah,
and they rock too. There's always guitars in there.
Right.
So
exactly.
that's cool. Yeah, she makes some cool records.
Always like getting your take on music. I like that. I got one last question, and it may be a polarizing thing when it comes to lounge music, but it's because of the fact that he was discovered in a lounge and the song is sort of representing his life. Is Billy Joel's Piano Man a lounge song?
That's a good question. Sure, but I would say it's more yacht rock. I don't know.
No. You see, that's an interesting point, because we know now the yacht rock revolution has really exploded the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. You could say that's kind of a takeoff of lounge, I mean, it's.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, kind of. I mean, maybe you have more of a take on it than I do, because
it's easy listening, right?
Right.
That's the idea of yacht. I think I don't know what the hell yacht rock is. I mean, that was made in some Madison Avenue radio funnel or something. I don't know.
Supposedly, Christopher Cross is the poster child for the format. Supposedly.
Oh, but that's awful, though. Yeah.
No, there's a lot better songs that that I've heard on yacht rock.
I just whatever. Say.
What a perfect note to go out. I love it.
And don't get me started on Journey. So
Hey, look, I still like Lights as a song. I mean, I'm over Don't Stop Believing. I want to thank Glee for killing it for me. Just me. I mean, if Glee was that popular, it'd still be on the air today. Oh, did I say that out loud? Anyway. Allow me to put the photo up one more time, photo number 4, so this way we can spotlight Everlounge's vodka context.
Yeah, please check it out. It's a snippet in time, and I think you'll enjoy it. And it's great for the car. It's great for a party.
I highly recommend Confabulations.
Yeah, there you go.
And She's a Girl and the instrumental Climby Casino. Those are my favorites.
Lovely. Yeah, that's Billy.
Oh, yeah. No, and that also shows all the sides of the record. It's fun. There's instrumentals. There's Hawaiian music with the Luau song. So there's a lot of things going on. Get it. You will not be disappointed. You'll get a whole range of stuff in that loungy vein, without a doubt.
Thank you. I have to say a shout out to my friend who I mentioned before, Frank Vergasso, who came up with the title and the first 2 lines of Confabulations. He threw that at me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it was, I sigh for a time that was cheap talk and schmoozes. You caught my eye with unusual bruises. And then he actually had the chorus line. He didn't have the melody, but he had a pretty good idea. And Bob and I just ran with that, and he gets credit on the album. So
that's crazy. I love that. No, I'm glad you gave him credit too.
Yeah,
but
I miss
that
that.
doesn't surprise me about you guys. You guys are very giving and generous that way, and recognize those who have been important to you, without a doubt.
Absolutely, yeah. All the people that we worked with over the years.
I leave with this: when you come back up to Jersey, I mean, could it be possible you and Billy could do it? Go out there and do something, maybe for one night somewhere.
We're talking about maybe doing something for the Dervishes this summer. Now,
very cool.
Bob won't be there, but we're trying to work something out that we do. I was just talking to Jerry about that today. Of course, Billy would be involved in that. As far as Everlounge, we did something 2 years ago. We did a really nice show at Wonder Bar.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll revisit that. That was with the original lineup on this record, and that was a blast. So yeah, never say never. We may do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of your fans would love this.
Any kind of demand for it.
There'll be some demand for this. I promise you.
Yeah.
Don, enjoy the weather. Look forward to seeing you back up this way, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rob. It's so great to see you.
Good to see you too. You too. Until next time, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks for checking out the A Game. Take care of yourself.